What's up guys, welcome to G Whiskey. My name's Jeff. Now this is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below. And with that out of the way, why don't we jump into our review. Today we're looking at Glenlivet 12 Illicit Still. Stick around. Alright, so we have a new Glenlivet with us today. It is a 12-year-old, it is called Illicit Still, and it came out at the end of last year in 2020. This is part of a new range of limited edition expressions called the Original Stories. So the idea behind this is that they're going to try and harken back to sort of like the older days of the distillery, give us some older style expressions in there. So kind of a cool idea. Now we do have a Glenlivet, so it's probably not as limited as they say. I imagine they made quite a bit of this stuff, so I don't think it's a kind of like blink and you'll miss it situation. I imagine you'll be seeing this on the shelves for at least another year or so, possibly more before it starts to disappear into the ether. Now this has been getting a fair amount of buzz lately. There's a lot of online reviewers that are really liking it, and I think that's really nice to hear. Glenlivet in general as a brand is more catered towards the casual consumer. A lot of their whiskey is very accessible, it's very easy, but it's not exactly brimming with character. And speaking personally, Glenlivet needs a redemption because they have hurt me recently. A couple years back, they redid their core range. The old 18-year-old was a delicious expression. It was at 43%, and with that rebranding, with that re-release, they brought it out again at 40%. So that kind of upset me. But if some of these newer releases start winning me over, maybe there's some forgiveness on the horizon. As a general rule, I do like Glenlivet. I like their house style. I think they're capable of making really amazing whiskeys. But on the flip side, as I mentioned earlier, they tend to cater to the casual consumer. So why don't we jump into a review of this one, see what this is all about, and in the meantime, if you can kindly leave a like down below, that would be greatly appreciated. Now, part of the big pitch for this one is that it is naturally presented. They beefed up their ABV for us. They went all the way up to 48%. Beyond that, this is non-chill filtered and it is not colored. So it's nice to see Glenlivet putting in some effort here. Now, because this is limited edition, they did not go with a regular core range look for the bottle. They went for something a lot more retro. I guess this is what old style Glenlivet bottles used to look like. I think this is more interesting than what we usually get from them. So for presentation, I'll give this a 4 out of 5. I think it's a great look. Like I said, I like the retro style here. It is a darker bottle, so you're not going to make out the color of the whiskey, but it's light enough that you can make out the level of the liquid, so at least you know how much you have left. They have sort of like fake tears along the label, sort of like a fake dirt on here. So I don't know, I think that's kind of neat, kind of cool. They do also mention that it's non-chill filtered, which is nice. They should also mention that it's naturally colored, but they don't. But overall, yeah, cool bottle. For our nose here. Okay. So this is fruity and floral. You're going to start off with some orchard fruits here. There's apples, there's peaches. There's quite a bit of a honeydew melon in here too. Sweet notes will be like sugar cane and caramel. There's a counterbalance. There's lemongrass in here. You have oak, gentle oak, nothing too heavy. Kind of a drying sandalwood presence in here, a little bit perfumey. This is very full and balanced, beautiful, beautiful nose. Let's check the palate. Again, very full, very fruity, citrus, so like orange and lemons. Moving on to more of that honeydew melon. There's a lot of, there's a big Asian starfruit note in here. Banana, apples, both green and red. We also have notes like honey, vanilla, barley, and cereal. And now for the finish. Great texture, oily. In the finish, things start to get a little bit less fruity and a little bit more malty. That barley's coming on pretty strong. You have pancakes with icing sugar, some freshly baked banana bread, some nuttiness. Reasonably long, very good complexity, beautiful, beautiful stuff. So I like a lot of things about this whiskey. I like the bottle, I like the concept, but ultimately none of that is going to matter unless I like the whiskey itself, and I do. It's what I was hoping it would be when I picked up the bottle and saw those, beautiful specs on there, 48% natural presentation. That got me excited. I thought maybe I'm going to get an amped up version of the 12, sort of the Glenlivet house style, turned up to 11, and that's precisely what this is. Now I'm actually okay drinking the regular 12-year-old. I don't mind it, it's nothing special, it's definitely a simpler whiskey and it comes off kind of neutered. Of course, it comes in at 40%. Now this one here, 48%, of course you are going to get much more flavor, and a lot of them are the flavors that you'll recognize from the 12-year-old, just kind of turned up. But beyond that, just having more ABV and more beefiness to it, it unlocks a lot of new flavors that you never got with the original 12. So it's a much more substantial, interesting, layered whiskey. You have massive fruitiness in here, you have these fat, juicy, malty notes, you have this thick, oily texture, really nice flavors, that honeydew melon, those big barley notes, there's banana, like I said, that star fruit, really, really cool, good balance. It's an accessible whiskey, but it challenges you just enough. It keeps you interested and engaged. Now my score here is going to be 88. It's a whiskey that I really enjoy now. It's not something that I was initially a huge fan of. I liked it when we popped it, but as I've gotten to know it, as the bottle's gone down, I found just more to enjoy. Now it's not an uber complex whiskey. It's not something where you're infinitely peeling back the layers and finding new things, but the core set of flavors, they're beefy, they're interesting, they're balanced. So as a whole, the whiskey comes together beautifully. Now, this might just be the power of suggestion, but I do kind of get an old school vibe from this. Obviously, I've never had a very, very old Glenlivet from back in the day. Probably never will, but I would imagine they just had stronger, more interesting, more robust flavors like this one. Another cool thing about this is just how unexpected it is. Brands like Glenlivet, Glenfiddich, they're people pleaser brands. They don't take risks. As I said, they kind of cater to the casual consumer. So having something like this, which I feel is designed more for the sophisticated whiskey drinker, it's completely out of left field, but it's really appreciated. So yeah, I'm really interested to see where Glenlivet goes with this original stories idea. Like I said, this is the first of a line of whiskeys. I'm not sure how many they're going to release, but I do hope they continue the trend of giving us higher ABVs and natural presentation. As the first of the series, I'm very impressed and I'm really keen to see where this goes. Now, speaking in terms of value, this is going to be a great buy. It's only a few pounds more than the regular 12-year-old, but it's a massive step up in quality. It's also very good for the price tag. If you compare it to other similarly priced single malts, this one's still a banger, and I love that. I love that they didn't premiumize this. They might have overcharged just because we're finally getting a naturally presented Glenlivet with a higher ABV. They didn't do that. They went with an affordable price tag. So as an affordable whiskey that's currently very widely available, definitely one I gotta recommend. Alright, that'll be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As always, hit subscribe down below, click the little bell icon, and of course smash the like. And I want to hear from you. So have you tried the Glenlivet 12 Illicit still? How does that compare to the regular 12-year-old? And finally, down in the comments, let me know what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my next video. Bye, guys.